Hello and welcome to the Moving Forward podcast. My name is Ravi, and today my conversation with Andrew Lemrock was about businesses that are thriving in the pandemic. We take a couple examples and analyze what has changed and what they've been doing to stay successful. Enjoy.
I think one of the main businesses that has really attracted a lot of attention lately are cleaning services, especially the ones that are specialized in sanitizing offices, restaurants, and homes are very in high demand today. And the demand clearly increased substantially for commercial buildings and medical facilities. Such services in Australia, I looked at a couple of companies. Most predominantly was Keen to Clean, which is a professional preventative cleaning and sanitization company that shifted their advertising to target COVID-19 specific sanitization service. So we see a shift even in advertising when you go to their websites and their Instagram accounts, whereby they name COVID-19 and coronavirus, and they claim that they will be focusing on cleaning frequently touched surfaces such as door handles, bed rails, tabletops, and light switches.
Look, cleaning services are quite an obvious one. I think you might have seen on the news, particularly this past week, most of the news services took a focus on what Sally Capbow, the Mayor of Melbourne, has done and engaged the Spotless Group to help keep their staff employed into cleaning the city.
Wow.
And it's amazing. They're out there, all in their, obviously, their uniforms, etc., and they are cleaning absolutely everything, not just what you were saying in terms of, light switches and buttons in elevators and things like that, the obvious touch surfaces, but all of the street furniture is being cleaned, beautifully cleaned and sanitized. And Sally's made a comment as well that she'd like to actually keep this going well after we come out of COVID. So I think one of the great stories here is that not only have we seen a large organisation in the Spotless Group keeping their employees and repurposing their employees, because these are typically people that work for them in the catering side of their business in all these stadiums and venues, but they've been repurposed. They've still got jobs, and now they're making our city look beautiful in this downtime. But hopefully that's going to continue, and maybe we'll just appreciate our city a little bit more.
Yeah, and we've seen the fact that we know really little about this virus has been shown from time to time. We started with the virus cannot transmitted between humans. Then we discovered that was wrong. We started with the virus cannot survive outside the human body. We discovered that it can survive on a lot of surfaces for days, not only hours. And I think such initiatives are really helpful, especially in a city where some people have to go to work. Some people cannot do their work from home. If you're doing any labor, any work that's physical, you have to be on the site. In addition to cleaning services, we've seen other companies that are thriving in this business. Whether that's positive or negative to negatively impacting their business, because a lot of companies are just on such high demand, it's stressing their capabilities and their resources. One of those companies would be delivery services as well. In Australia, we notice there are slight delays, surprisingly, on deliveries coming to your home. So, for example, many of the deliveries that I ordered so far have been delayed by maximum 1 to 2 days, which is quite amazing to see these companies coping with such high demand. That was surprising. That came as a surprise to all of us, and we saw businesses being proud to offer their services to people staying at home. For example, Domino's Pizzas tweeted on the 28th of March that they were proud to keep more than 250,000 households home for a meal, and that's a significant number of people just staying out of the streets and out of the supermarket.
Yeah, look, absolutely. I mean, delivery services are one thing. I think when we started, really facing the reality of work from home, quarantine, etc., I think the conversation began with, taxi services, Ubers, for being able to get around from point A to point B, and then, they talked about how those companies were approaching it with gloves and sanitizers and increased hygiene and all those sorts of things, practices, etc.
Yeah.
And now that we've gone home, we've seen this evolve even further. Obviously, online shopping is absolutely booming. I think it's a real opportunity, not only for these delivery services, but also for small local businesses to still maintain relevance and potentially build new market and come out of this terrible situation in a completely different new position, ready to service customers that have got used to being at home, living their life at home, working at home, socializing at home. And I think history gives you a really good insight. And so what we'd seen in building trends leading up to this quarantine period is that house kitchens were getting smaller and smaller and smaller, and even some developments were getting to the stage where they were only putting in kitchenettes because of the infrastructure and the capabilities of delivery and door-to-door services for food and anything that you like. It's a small fact, but an important one. 33% of a home's electricity is consumed in the kitchen. And if we move, yeah, it's incredible, isn't it? Like if you think about that. And so here we are building these grandiose kitchens and these mega fridges and all those sorts of things. But as a global population in the developed countries, we're moving towards home delivery because we want to be able to, eat the flavors and the cuisines of the world every night of the week. We don't necessarily want to sit in a restaurant to do that, and we're happy to sit at home. And so kitchens have become slightly less relevant than what they were. And so once again, COVID-19 accelerating a whole new industry that could really change the way we design and build homes in the future.
Yeah, and it has been such a shock to these businesses and quite surprising to all of us how they've been able to adapt with the shift being completely online oriented. And speaking of surprises, it's definitely not a surprise to all of us that liquor stores are witnessing increased sales as people are turning to alcohol to help them cope with the coronavirus pandemic. So, whilst most businesses have been forced to close, liquor stores are staying open. So, I think a lot of people understand that these are kind of essential services, especially for people to stay sane. While liquor is known as well as a social lubricant, so it's no surprise that people are using it in conjunction with the sudden rise in online with online video apps. And one of those online video apps is definitely House Party, which is something that we use in our personal accounts as well.
Yeah, look, no surprise that plenty of us enjoy a drink. There's lots that don't as well, by the way. But I think importantly, you said there, social lubrication. We're social, and so if you look at
pun 100% intended.
Yeah. So if you think about our normal work day, many of us have a beer after work or one day a week or something with our colleagues and things like that. So I don't think this is new. I think what we're actually seeing is an increase in volume in sales through liquor stores, but we've also at the same time seen a significant downturn, almost to nothing, in pubs and clubs and things like that, where we would go and socialise. So I'm not sure the statistics are fair to say that we've got this obsession with being alcoholics in our home and we like to lubricate every moment of the day. I think just how we procure our social lubricant in terms of liquor and wine has certainly changed.
That's a great point, yeah.
And I think, I feel sorry for the pubs and clubs that normally provide us that social environment. It's difficult in these times, and hopefully it will swing back. But you're right. I think there's a pretty big trend at the moment to, get socially lubricated on your favourite tipple and jump on House Party and have some fun. So the two do go hand in hand.
And speaking of House Party, which we know that real life house parties has been on the pause at least for a little while, with gatherings now limited to no more than 2 people. But there is a virtual option. Video apps such as House Party, Zoom has been rising quite rapidly recently. Now, House Party specifically has been around for a few years, offering group chats and group games, but is now one of the most popular apps on Android and iOS. The app, provides many functionalities, including locked and unlocked group chats, which means anyone could decide to join the video call if the lock setting hasn't been activated. For people that are looking for a more secure connection, it's not the best, but I think if you're having a party, security is not your main concern, at least at the moment.
I think many people don't use the lock feature in hope that maybe someone will just rock up and say g'day.
Yeah.
That if you think of it again, as we were saying, typically after work we would go to a venue to socialise. That venue happens to be the House Party app at the moment, and how many times do you stand at the bar ordering something and spark up a conversation with somebody you've never met before? These are social characteristics of all humans. We're intrigued and interested, so it's not a bad thing. I mean, locking groups is probably sensible if it's a whole bunch of kids online and those sorts of things. But
yeah,
having a genuine house party, leave the door open for the gate crashers to come along. Hey.
Yeah, and I'm really keen to know. A lot of these things are becoming normal for us. The longer we stay at home, how much of this do you think will stay with us after the lockdown has been raised? How much do you think we're going to keep using, whether it's a house party, or drinking at home while virtually chatting with friends? Because for me personally, I will always prefer going to the pub. Or going somewhere where I can be around my friends in the same physical environment, just because although and I'm willing to pay the premium for that, because we all know drinks at pubs are way more expensive than if you make them at home. So how much of this do you think will stay with us after the lockdown?
Look, I think it's going to stay with us for a very long time, and it will become ingrained. But I think what we're seeing right now is what we call middle ground or temporary ground. It's probably the beta version of what society will be like in the future. So having said that, being able to order liquor online, use a delivery service to get it to you so you can have a house party and socialise, that's us as a society, as a community, building a minimal viable product to get us through these times.
Yeah.
What I do think, though, is that when we come out of it, those supply chains will become far more integrated, far more evolved and developed, to the point where we will see, the core technology of the fourth industrial revolution, such as big data and data analytics, artificial intelligence, etc., and the proliferation of global networks actually facilitate a more integrated supply chain or experience chain in this particular case. So I think we're in the middle ground now. MVP, what the actual final product is yet to be determined, because we don't understand really how the customer is going to change as we start to remove the restrictions of isolation.
Great point. And with that, thank you very much for listening, everyone, and have a great day.